So, what if almost everything we thought we knew about online user behavior, from the first search to the final click, is actually missing something? Something fundamental. We spend so much time on algorithms, clicks, attribution. But what if the real edge, the real optimization opportunity isn't out there, but in here, in the mind? There's this powerful idea. You don't own the moment, you borrow it. It really echoes that Japanese concept, Ichigo Ichi, of basically every moment happens just once. And that applies to every single search query, every click, every scroll people make. It's unique, fleeting. So our mission here is to really dig into these invisible forces that shape every single interaction. We're talking about the two core mental systems and the three types of memory that drive decisions, often completely outside our conscious radar. This isn't just like academic theory. It's a genuine shift in thinking about optimization, moving beyond web algorithms to, well, the human mind's own algorithm.
It really is. It's a shift away from just chasing the latest hack or tactic towards understanding the mental machinery behind every choice someone makes in that split second. And there's a pretty profound implication floating around here. The idea that Google has, in a way, killed the search experience we once knew. We're moving from trying to make sites sticky to users being almost super glued into experiences. Information gets delivered to you rather than you actively, discovering it.
Wow, killed the search experience.
Yeah.
That's a big statement. Let's unpack that because
Right.
it ties right into this idea of cognitive load, doesn't it?
Mm.
The groundwork here obviously comes from Daniel Kahneman and his work on the two systems in our minds. They're processing things constantly in real time, often without us noticing, and what we call search behavior. Turns out it's often less about deep exploration and more about managing cognitive load. The brain trying to cut corners, find faster answers, less friction, fewer clicks.
Exactly right. System one, that's the automatic one. It's the instant decision maker, operating almost completely below the surface of consciousness. Think about how you instantly read a headline or recognize someone you know, or pull your hand from a hot surface. No conscious thought required, right? System one is incredibly fast, it's intuitive, it's very emotional. Its main job, what we call information foraging, that rapid scanning, skimming, the gut check to just conserve mental energy, it's like your brain's internal bounce detector, that immediate, is this relevant, is this safe? If System 1 feels any friction, an unfamiliar layout, confusing language, weird visuals boom, it prepares to flee, it bounces. This is the absolute gatekeeper to your content. It's crucial in all those tiny micro moments that happen constantly throughout the day.
Okay, so system one is the super fast, intuitive bouncer at the door. But what about when we do stop and think? When does that slower, more analytical part kick in? System two.
Yes. System 2, that's the mindful analyzer. This one is slow, it's deliberate, it requires real effort. It gets involved for the complex stuff like really comparing mortgage options or reading in-depth reviews before a big purchase or deciding if you trust a site with your credit card. It usually engages when the stakes feel higher or when System 1 flags something as unknown, needs investigation. But here's the crucial bit. System 2 only gets involved if System 1 basically hands over the controls. And this is where so many optimization efforts, frankly, fall down. We tend to build for System 2 all the detailed specs, the comparison charts, the long testimonials, but System 1 is deciding whether the user even sees any of that. You absolutely need System 1 to open that door before System 2 can even think about closing the deal.
Right, that makes perfect sense. System one opens, system two closes. So we have these two systems processing information. But what happens next? How does any of this actually get remembered or forgotten? This takes us into memory, right? How the brain processes and retains or doesn't retain what it encounters. There are different types involved here, too.
Precisely. It's not just about catching the eye, it's about what actually sticks. Let's start with short-term memory. This is where those very first impressions land. And it's incredibly limited. We're talking maybe 5 to 9 pieces of information, lasting only about 15 to 30 seconds. Think about headlines, product names, maybe a price you see immediately. For anyone in marketing or design, this means those initial elements are hypercritical. If you overload it, you create what's called expensive confusion. It's based on real cognitive science. George Miller's famous magical number 7 plus or minus 2. It explains why, a phone number feels manageable, but a long string of random numbers is almost impossible to hold on to without writing it down. Huge implications for that initial glance online.
Okay, so that's the first flicker, short term. Then things move into a more active processing stage. This is working memory, the brain sort of scratch pad.
Exactly. The scratch pad or mental workspace is a great analogy. Working memory is where the brain actively connects meaning. It pulls relevant stuff from your long-term storage and mixes it with what you're seeing right now. This is where active evaluation happens, comparing product features side by side in your head, following a multi-step process, figuring out a navigation menu. Alan Baddeley and Graham Hitch did amazing work mapping this out. But here's the big warning sign for designers and marketers. Overload working memory and people just freeze. Decision-making shuts down. They get overwhelmed and are far more likely to just leave than push through. It's a critical failure point.
Okay, so we have the fleeting short-term, the active working memory. But how does anything truly last? This must be where brands are made or, well, broken. Long-term memory.
This is the vault, yes. Long-term memory is where things like brand reputation, your past experiences with a company, and really strong emotional moments get stored. Every single interaction contributes, either building trust or, unfortunately, resentment. This is where you get remembered fondly or not so fondly. There's research on flashbulb memories, those super vivid recollections, often tied to strong emotions. Think about a really terrible customer service call or maybe a surprisingly delightful experience. Those stick. And we also know about Hermann Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve. We lose information incredibly quickly, like half of new information within an hour sometimes.
Yeah.
It just underscores how important it is to make an impression that actually encodes deeply, not just registers briefly.
This cognitive framework is fascinating. But how does something like generative AI fit into this? It feels like it's changing the game entirely, maybe even how these systems interact.
Oh, profoundly. Gen AI is, in effect, creating a kind of virtual avatar of you based on your past behavior. It analyzes your patterns, your preferences, and tries to predict your intent, often aiming to satisfy System 1 directly and sometimes bypassing System 2's careful analysis altogether. You see it in personalized search results, product recommendations, content feeds. They're designed to trigger those automatic recognition patterns, to give you what you want before you even fully articulate it. Now, the upside is obvious: reduced cognitive load, faster decisions. But the trade-offs: less conscious reflection, potentially reduced critical thinking, and a higher risk of getting stuck in information bubbles or biases. And the big consequence for us: new cognitive dependencies are forming. Audiences might get less practice with deep analytical thinking, but become even more sensitive to friction or mismatches in their automatic intuitive thinking. So content needs to work for brains that are leaning more heavily on pattern matching, on intuition, rather than deep evaluation.
That really challenges the old linear marketing funnel idea, doesn't it? We often think of moving people neatly through stages, but this suggests cognition is much more layered. Messier, maybe?
Messier, definitely layered. Intent isn't as simple as what someone types in a box. The feeling, the underlying need, might be different. As one source put it, funnels try to map the journey. Mental states are the journey. That really resonated. Think about Google's micro moments. Want to know, want to go, want to do, want to buy. Each engages different systems, different levels of cognitive load. Take someone searching chest pain. That's System 1 alarm bells going off, instantly handing over to System 2 for serious evaluation. Huge cognitive load. Compare that to buying your usual morning coffee, pure System 1 habit, but buying a coffee machine. Now you're back in System 2 territory, comparing features, prices, reviews. Same general topic, wildly different cognitive states. The real magic, the conversion opportunity, happens in those smooth transitions, especially when System 1 easily recognizes something and confidently passes it to System 2 for action or deeper thought. So optimization isn't just about stages, it's about optimizing for cognition itself, meeting people's minds where they actually are in that moment.
Which brings us to this idea of 50 milliseconds to forever. The brain makes these incredibly fast initial judgments, right, before we're even consciously aware. And within that split second and the moments that follow, there are these simultaneous processes happening. First, emotional state matching. Does this feel right? Safe. Second, that critical system processing, handoff System 1 to System 2. And third, managing the cognitive load. So basically, every failed conversion is likely a breakdown in one of those cognitive handoffs.
Absolutely. And knowing this lets us apply it very practically. Take e-commerce product pages. The shift is away from overwhelming you with, say, 47 color options and dense specs up front. Instead, it's about an optimized flow. Maybe 3x key benefits clearly visible, a single obvious call to action, trust signals like guarantees right there. It makes System 1 comfortable and gives System 2 a clear path. Or sauce landing pages, moving away from just listing endless features and having multiple confusing CTAs. Core's cognitive support, one strong value prop, revealing more info progressively if needed, and one unambiguous next step. And for local services, especially in urgent situations, forget long descriptions. People in crisis mode are scanning, they need a phone number, clear hours or availability, quick proof you can solve their problem now. The design has to match that urgent mental state.
It really drives home that point. Beauty contests don't convert. It's not just about looking good. Design needs to achieve what's termed UIQU, intentionally considering. What cognitive system am I activating? Which memory type? What emotion? And critically, how much mental effort does this demand? It's optimizing for the mind, not just keywords. The sites that win aren't just pretty, they're cognitively fluent. They reduce that mental drag. It's like that other quote, stickiness isn't about glue, it's gravity, creating effortless pull.
And the fascinating part is our existing analytics can actually reveal where these cognitive handoffs might be breaking down if we interpret them through this lens. For instance, low scroll depth combined with low time on page often means System 1 just said nope right away, never engaged. What about a really long time on page, but zero conversion? That's just System 2 got involved, the user was interested, but then got stuck. Maybe the next step was unclear, maybe too many choices, information overload. If you see multiple visits before someone finally converts, their brain needed that extra time, maybe multiple passes for the handoff to work. That's an opportunity to streamline things. And when you see an immediate conversion, System 1 nailed the handoff. Smooth transition to action. That's the ideal you want to replicate. Common failure points. Cognitive load issues, like presenting way too many options at once. Emotional mismatches, like a long, calm explanation when someone has an urgent need. Or system handoff failures, beautiful visuals, but then a clunky, confusing form.
So if we wanted a quick mental checklist for optimizing, maybe think FERF for first impressions. That's System 1 plus short-term memory. Focus on immediate trust signals, visual clarity, making it feel safe. E for evaluations, that crucial System 1 to System 2 transition, engaging working memory. Needs charmed info, clear patterns, good decision support. And R for retention, that System 2 plus long-term memory. Build it with positive emotional peaks, easy exit experiences, and consistently reinforcing trust.
That's a great framework. And to diagnose specific drop-off points, asking these 5 questions that fix everything can be incredibly insightful. 1, what cognitive system was likely active? 2, what memory type was being engaged? 3, where exactly did the handoff seem to fail? 4, what emotion was probably triggered or missing? And 5, how much mental effort was required right there? Beyond the usual metrics, we should also be looking at numbers that actually matter for this kind of optimization. Things like System 1 health indicators, maybe time to first meaningful paint or interaction. System 2 engagement signals, time spent on comparison tools or key evaluation sections. Cognitive load measurements like abandonment rates at specific form fields. And memory formation success, looking at things like brand recall or growth in direct traffic over time. There's a final, really critical point here, though. It's about ethics. There's a very fine line between reducing cognitive friction, which is helpful, and actually exploiting cognitive vulnerabilities, making things easy and clear. That's user-friendly cognitive load reduction. But using dark patterns or psychological tricks to bypass careful thought, that's cognitive load exploitation. Manipulation. The goal, the ethical imperative, has to be building cognitive support systems, not exploit systems. We have to respect that users have finite mental bandwidth.
Absolutely. So wrapping this up, we've seen how every tiny moment online, every micro moment, is really a choice point governed by these internal mental algorithms. And cognitive friction, it's like the silent killer of trust, of clarity, and ultimately of conversion. In this world of scarce attention, the challenge is, well, simple in concept, but tough in execution. Reduce that mental drag, build trust almost instantly, and make every borrowed moment count.
Exactly. Remember, you don't own the moment. You just borrow it. And maybe the truest measure of success isn't just getting the click today, but actually being remembered positively tomorrow. That's the enduring win.
Understanding that ichigo ichi, that uniqueness of every interaction, suggests our ultimate strategy isn't about perfectly predicting some linear customer journey. It's about becoming fluent in the cognitive states, the mental landscape that makes any journey possible in the first place. So the question to ponder is, how will this deeper understanding of the mind transform your approach to UX, to conversions, and to building those really lasting brand connections?